The United States of America leads the world in imprisonment. 25% of all the world's prisoners are incarcerated in the U.S., although the total number of U.S. citizens is less than 5% of the world's population. For every 100,000 residents in our country, 504 people are incarcerated. Of the 1.6 million inmates in the U.S., 14,000 are held in Oregon. In Marion County, more than 4,000 people are under supervision, and each year approximately 600 people are released into our community. The need to address this population is real. To that end, the Oregon Department of Corrections has worked on providing transition services, preparing people to successfully return to their home communities.
We have institutional release counselors and transition coordinators that actually work directly with the folks from the Marion County Reentry Initiative that are also doing reach-in inside the prisons as we try to prepare offenders who are from the Marion County area who will be releasing back out to Marion County. And so there's a fair amount of coordination and collaboration that the Reentry Initiative has really been focused on.
Sergeant Lacey Carter has served as a parole officer, helping inmates with transition into the community. Corrections officers and staff from nonprofits like Community Action and Mid-Valley Mentors go into the prisons to do orientations, or reach-ins as they are called, on such topics as housing, employment, and other relevant issues.
We're kind of starting a new movement in Marion County Parole and Probation with the Marion County Reentry Initiative. And the goal is really to reduce recidivism in Marion County, raise public safety, obviously save budget money, and encourage success in our clients. So I feel like my role is kind of being the change in the world that I want to see, and spending time in the prisons, doing everything I can to help promote success.
Clearly Marion County has been very active in developing a reentry initiative that I think has the key elements of success, which is that it's not solely being driven by corrections at the state level and community corrections at the local level, but that it's actually being driven by a more robust community involvement from all sectors of the community.
Despite these efforts, re-entering a community can be a daunting and scary situation.
The day of release from the institution, the person's let go. Sometimes families there, sometimes not. Sometimes they have transportation, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have some money that they've earned from the Department of Corrections and they're given a check. Most of the time, they're not. Sometimes people have a place to stay, but for 50% of our total population, they have no place to stay, no place to call home.
Upon release, people need a community willing to support them, to give them a second chance. A large need is for mentoring. Individuals need to feel like a part of a community to succeed.
Ex-offenders returning to the community often face a lot of barriers with employment and housing, and the list goes on. So most of the time when these individuals are preparing to release from prison, they're really eager to get on the right path and very motivated. But when they release, one of the biggest challenges is getting reconnected with old peers and negative associations, which pull them back down that path and ending up continuing the cycle of crime. So one of the really important things that our mentors do is provide positive associations and connections into new community groups, new community settings that they wouldn't otherwise experience without having that mentor in their life.
Just knowing somebody that wants to help, you know, hear your story, somebody that listens, you know, it's always welcome in my book, because I mean, there's not too many people that would sit down and actually listen without having something to say. When a representative from the Willamette Valley mentor came in and talked to me, she basically sat down and explained to me why she was there, that I wouldn't have to be alone, you know, that they'd be able to help me out. Obviously, they're not going to buy me a house or a car or anything like that, but if possible, get me to appointments.
Before matching volunteers with the client, we provide training to make sure that they feel that they have a solid base of knowledge and are equipped to be working with the clients. And then our support continues after that. We don't just match them and throw them out there and expect them to swim and figure it out on their own. We continue to check in and provide case management of the match. We know that these are volunteers that don't have a lot of time to be maneuvering various facets of the community.
In the mentor-mentee relationship, I think definitely the mentor gets just as much, if not more, out of it sometimes than the mentee does. I mean, it's kind of hard to measure these things, but I hear this from other mentors also. They're learning lessons about themselves and about life just left and right. For example, the very first time I met with my mentee, we were to meet at a coffee shop downtown Salem, and we had arranged it, and I had not arranged it like sometimes you do with a first meeting and you tell someone what you look like and they do the same thing. Instead, I just thought that small coffee shop we'd be able to find each other. Well, I arrived on time, looked around the place, and I didn't see anybody that I thought fit the profile of ex-inmate. Well, he was there all along, just he was looking so much who he is, which was not my stereotype. So I learned a huge lesson that day. I ended up calling him on my cell phone, and he answers. He's the guy right in front of me that I was deciding, oh, this is some professional person. This isn't the ex-con, you know.
The way I came about going through Mid-Valley was I was just feeling that, you know, there's people out there that are going through struggles and could use a hand, and I just kind of think about myself and the struggles I've been through and how helpful it would have been to have someone there to talk with who knew my struggle and who comes from the same place I come from and has been through the stuff I've been through.
The people I've met since I've joined the mentoring group have been just like us, hardworking people that want a better life, and they work hard, whether it's at school or at a job, to do that. The difference being they have to overcome past mistakes that they've done and the repercussions that go along with it. I wasn't sure if there was anything that I could do that would help somebody. And sometimes just being there for someone and letting them talk, or having knowing they have a support system that's there for them is really all you can hope for.
When the men got out of prison, he'd been in prison almost 2 years. He has a 3-year-old son. Of course, he hadn't seen the boy in 2 years, and he was quite distraught about it. He wanted to see his son, and he got to spend a Sunday afternoon playing in the park with his son. He went to pull out of the parking lot that Monday, I believe it was, after he met his son, and he said, "Look here." He showed me on his door handle. It was all smudged, and he's big grin in his face, and he says, "That's my little boy's fingerprints. I'm not going to wash that car." That's why I do this work more than anything else.
Just a little bit of help with somebody could make all the difference in the world. And so if you're thinking about doing this, you know, it's really a good experience for you. It's a good experience for you and for them.
In addition to the need for social support is a need for financial independence. In a difficult economy, many individuals seeking employment find themselves in an environment of little work. This is especially true for those being released from prison.
My primary responsibility is to work with the business community on trying to find them employment opportunities. The stigma of these clients that coming out with a record and things like that makes it very difficult for them to try to find work. The key with any position for any employer is that they want someone who's willing to go to work, show up to work, do a good job, all of that. Our clients are highly motivated to do this because they have something to prove. If someone gets employed once they're out, as soon as they get employed, their chances of going back to prison are less and less for every day that they're working.
As we've had success with one man in a position, then the employer opens up and says, "Hey, this was a good guy. Do you know anybody else?"
When they get the job and they come running up to you and grab you and swirl you around in a circle and say, "My gosh, I got a job. I would have never thought I could have got a job. I know I was terrible when I first met with you, but look at me. I am so happy, and I'm contributing back, and my family's doing much better." That is why we're doing what we do.
Sheriff Jason Myers appointed local individuals and officials to form a council to offer ideas and input on the Reentry Initiative. The Marion County Reentry Council works to connect various organizations that serve individuals releasing into the community, and identify ways to overcome existing barriers to successful reentry. Members represent business, faith, social services, education, and governmental sectors.
But before one can even become employed, they have to have something as simple as an ID. So we have worked hard to make sure more people coming out of prison have the proper documents. Department of Corrections today is now supplying documents such as Social Security and birth certificates to people who are coming into our local community corrections so that they can get the state-issued ID card, or if they're eligible, to go back and get their driver's license. So obviously ID is important to be able to have a job and to rent housing.
We can't continue to just build prisons. That's, to me, an easy way out as a society. That is, we need to try to find a way, one, of keeping individuals from going in the institution in the first instance, but having said that, to look at rehab.
Student Opportunity for Achieving Results, or SOAR, is an intensive reentry program on the Chemeketa Community College campus.
I mean, I got a lot out of the SOARS program, and I benefited a lot because I find myself using some of the tools from the SOARS program now with not even thinking about it. I'm going to school right now, summer term. I'm working. It's going to set you up for a career. And, you know, while I was doing the SOARS program on my lunchtime, I went in, filled out the paperwork for financial aid online. I'm going to school now, 13 credit hours, plus working.
Any different than what it used to be?
Yes, it's a big difference. Before I used to hang out with
individuals that are eligible for the SOAR program are those that are recently released from incarceration. They have a history of drug or alcohol abuse. They are those that are kind of in that stage of thinking about changing their lives and about what they want to do differently with their futures.
The following 16 students are considered students of Chemeketa Community College. These students have participated in a classroom setting that focuses on intense motivational programming, cognitive restructuring, substance abuse treatment, friend and family group, parenting inside out, education and employment assistance, dependable strengths articulation process, and transitional case planning, all of which utilize evidence-based curriculum and practices.
We do know that SOAR is making a difference in people's lives. I think the primary one that we all notice is the family reunification. And there's a family focus group that meets weekly. And one example would be a man who has not had any connection with his daughter for 20 years. They haven't spoken in 20 years. And because of this SOAR program, he now has her over to his house. He's able to fix her dinner, and they're able to reunite as a family.
This program here has given me so many more tools that I can use and so many more thinking patterns that have been brought to the service that I didn't even know about. And I apply these tools to my living life, my social life, my family. Anything I'm doing, I apply these tools to everything, just even a simple conversation.
It was through the Reentry Council that resources were identified to provide breakfasts to a new SOAR class. In a report to the council, SOAR's staff noted that funding for breakfast was not included in grant funds. After hearing about the need, Greg Peterson, council member and owner of the Broadway Cafe, volunteered to make and deliver breakfasts for the first 2 weeks of class. Another council member covered the costs.
Once someone has been convicted of their crime, they've served their sentence and they've released out, we talk about in our folklore this notion of everybody deserves a second chance. You've done the crime, you've done the time, now come out and be a productive member of society.
Sometimes it's just the little things that make all the difference in the world for somebody. You never know what you do that will affect them.
What if it was your son? Or the neighbor kid you watched grow up?
Then Peter came up and said to him, "Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times?" Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 70 times 7.